Part 121. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1201. Feng Qingxiu decided to quit the army and protect her family. Lu Zhang wrote the application on his behalf, and then asked Wang Sanbao, Guo Xiuying, and others to issue certificates. Military personnel need this certificate to take sick leave, not to mention that she was discharged due to illness. Guo Xiuying and Wang Sanbao sighed at the same time after hearing Feng Qingxiu's plan. They all felt it was a pity. After years of study and skillful application, Feng Qingxiu's medical skills were really good, but she didn't realize it herself, and she had many insights that inspired them a lot. She really plans to retire, Wang Sanbao couldn't help but want to confirm. Maybe he heard wrong. Maybe Lu Zhang asked him and Guo Xiuying to give Feng Qingxiu the certificate to make it easier for her to ask for sick leave. Qingxiu, she has always loved her work and never forgets to study during her breaks. She always has the attitude of always learning. Did you understand her wrongly? Guo Xiuying didn't think Lu Zhang meant to tell Feng Qingxiu wrongly. He always respected any decision made by Feng Qingxiu. When it comes to favoring a wife, Lu Zhang ranks second in the entire army, and no one ranks first. Which young couple doesn't usually have a quarrel? It is not uncommon for quarrels to occur at the head of the bed and at the end of the bed. However, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu just loved each other. They never quarreled or fought. They always discussed everything they did. When Feng Qingxiu made a decision, Lu Zhang never said no. Sure enough, she heard Lu Zhang say seriously, "Sister Sanbao, you heard it right, and I understood it right too." Wang Sanbao sighed and said, "Well, Xiuying and I will issue a certificate for you. The symptoms should be written down as more serious. In this case, the army should approve it faster. In fact, it's not that approval is faster, but that approval is more likely. The army has always been short of doctors. This has not changed since the founding of the People's Republic of China. Otherwise, there would be no art soldiers serving as medical soldiers. Many art soldiers have to learn first aid nursing knowledge in addition to training, just to serve the country's needs. Therefore, for a talented person like Feng Qingxiu, the army may not necessarily agree to her retirement. How difficult it is to train a talent. With all walks of life almost paralyzed, especially all medical universities, where can the army recruit outstanding medical talents? After receiving Feng Qingxiu's application for discharge, the army did not agree even with the certificates issued by Guo Xiuying and Wang Sanbao. Although Lu Zhang is the commander of the army, the people responsible for the enlistment and discharge of soldiers do not listen to him. This is called doing their own duties. Comrade Lu Zhang, the other party patted him on the shoulder. In the army, Lu Zhang always insisted that everyone call him Comrade Lu Zhang instead of Comrade Chief of Army. This is what he learned from the old leaders. Regardless of all walks of life, everyone is equal, so Chen Lanjinj, the veteran soldier who is responsible for approving soldiers' enlistment, retirement, and career change, called him this, and said very affectionately, "We have to think about the country." Lu Zhang smiled helplessly, "Comrade Chen Lanjinj, I understand what you mean. Switching from active duty to reserve service does not mean that you will not serve the country. The country ordered a recall. That is absolutely true. Now, it's not like you don't know the situation in my family. The younger son is frail and sick, and Comrade Qingxiu did not take good care of him after childbirth, and because of the younger son, he is ill in bed and will not recover. He is really unable to take on the responsibilities of a medical soldier in a short period of time, so why waste the country's resources?" Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1202. Lu Jiang's family first welcomed the birth of triplets, which made countless people envious. Then the younger son's life was hanging by a thread, which made the whole family anxious. No one in the entire army knew about it. Chen Lanqing also visited Zhuang with his comrades. After Zhuang got better, he naturally became aware of the situation of Feng Qingxiu and Zhuang. The mother and son looked sick, and they were indeed very pitiful. Let's do this, Comrade Lu Zhang. Chen Lanqing pondered for a moment. Let our department discuss it and give you a reply in a few days. You also know that this application cannot be approved at once. Lu Zhang knew clearly, then we will trouble Comrade Chen Lanqing and all other comrades. The approval did not come through, but Jiao Desheng came back. When Jiao Desheng came back, he learned these two pieces of news and was almost stunned. Zhuang was once so angry, and Feng Qingxiu is now applying for discharge from the army, neither of which is a trivial matter. Fang Ning sighed and opened Jiao Desheng's luggage bag to sort it out. When she found that the bag was empty, she knew that he had left all his bedding and clothes with his parents-in-law, so he didn't pay much attention to it. It was originally prepared for his two elders, so he treated him. Said, not 2 days after you left, Zhuang fell ill. He fell ill very suddenly. He went to the hospital in the early morning. Fortunately, Qingxiu discovered it early and took good care of him. He finally saved his life. Qingxiu retired from the army. I'm not surprised at all, her love for her children is so deep. Jiao Desheng hummed, then I have to go visit my sister-in-law Qingxiu and Zhuang. I was not at home before, which was excused, but now that I'm back, I have to go. Of course, let's go together. Lu Zhang was very happy to see Jiao Desheng and Fang Ning. When did you come back? I didn't even notice. He was asking about Jiao Desheng, and the answer was naturally Jiao Desheng, who handed over the 2 cans of malted milk essence he bought. I just got home and heard that my sister-in-law and Zhuang are sick. Let me take a look. Are you feeling better now? As long as someone comes, what can you give me? Comrade Fang Ning helped us a lot when we were in the hospital. Jiao Desheng glanced at his wife and said with a smile, it is necessary to help. Besides, there is no way to visit a patient with nothing. Fang Ning said directly, you guys chat, I'll go to the bedroom to see Qingxiu and the child. Okay, Qingxiu just woke up and is reading a book, Lu Zhang said. As soon as Fang Ning entered, she saw Feng Qingxiu leaning on a stack of folded quilts and reading a book. The triplets were lying side by side inside, and the 4 mothers were covered with a quilt. Zibao was practicing calligraphy at the desk, but Fubao was walking around on the ground. A clicking sound came from Fubao. Fang Ning took a closer look and smiled immediately. The little girl was admiring Feng Qingxiu's leather shoes and kept saying, Mom, do I look good? Fubao is the best, right? Yes, Feng Qingxiu replied distractedly. Zibao rolled his eyes and muttered while writing, Mom, I want to play too. Although Feng Qingxiu felt that her son lacked freedom, she still felt cruel and said, you can play with it after you finish practicing the calligraphy. You promised Grandpa in your letter that you should practice 3 large characters every day and take them home to him later. Grandpa checks. If a man has no faith, he will not stand. A gentleman's words are worth $1,000, and a gentleman's words are hard to keep. I'm not a gentleman, I'm Zibao. Zibao's big eyes rolled around, but he wrote very steadily, finishing in one go. Fang Ning leaned over to take a look, and was stunned. He couldn't help but exclaimed, Zibao's calligraphy is so beautiful. Qingxiu, how did you teach them? He can write so neatly at such a young age, and it's in calligraphy. You're only 7 years old. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1203. Zibao put down the last stroke and put down the brush. Mom, I've finished writing, Can you do somersaults? Zibao's heart had already flown out. Feng Qingxiu had been ill recently. She always felt that she had no strength. She knew that she was really injured and was too lazy to move, so she said to her eldest son, "Mom is not feeling well. Can you bring your handwriting over and let Mom check it?" Zibao thought for a moment and said, "I didn't do it. It means that the ink is dripping and has not dried thoroughly, so it will become smudged when picked up." Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "Mom, can you please wait for a while before we go out to play? Wait for the writing to be dry and take it to Mom for inspection. After the inspection, I will put it away for you and send it back to Grandpa." "Okay, who calls me a good baby?" Zibao praised himself to the sky. Fang Ning couldn't help but laugh when she saw Zibao wait for the ink to dry and then give 3 pieces of paper to Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu did not forget to comment on his calligraphy while inspecting it, extolling the advantages and criticizing the shortcomings. His head suddenly drooped. "Are you 2 words wrong? You can't show it to Grandpa. Can I write it down after I've had enough fun?" "Okay, you can rewrite it tomorrow. Mom is not in a hurry." Zibao cheered, "Mom, you are so good, I like you the most." Beiji kissed Feng Qingxiu, said hello to Fang Ning, and jumped off the Kong neatly to find Lu Zhang, who was currently asking the Guancheng brothers and others if they had successfully boarded the car. "How could I dare to come back if I don't put them in the car?" Qiao Desheng said with a smile, and then said, 2 days after arriving in northern Shaanxi, after visiting my parents, I put them in the car and left. I was worried that there were too many of us. Attract attention. Counting the time, they should be home long ago. How are the conditions of Comrade Zhou and Comrade Wang Suihai? Lu Zhang expressed concern. When mentioning this matter, Qiao Desheng sighed, "I can't say it's good, I can't say it's bad. I live in a cave dwelling, the conditions are difficult, and I have to work, but it's all my dad who does it. No matter how the people who supervise them criticize and struggle, my dad just treats me. I took the job on myself. I lived near the farm for a while and found out something. The person in charge of the farm wanted to buy a pair of gold bracelets. Someone reminded me to give him 2 gold bracelets and maybe I could. My parents' treatment will be better." Lu Zhang was stunned. "What's the secret?" Qiao Desheng whispered, "It is said that the person in charge is a filial son. He has been dependent on his grandmother since he was a child. His grandmother is now so confused that she doesn't recognize anyone. She talks about the pair of red gold dragon and phoenix bracelets given by her husband's family when they got married every day. The person in charge just wants to satisfy him. Grandma's wish, but gold and silver have been confiscated by the state, so it's hard to buy privately. With Guancheng's advice, I visited several black markets and flea markets. Jewelry, jade, and the like were rare, but there was no gold. In the past, not to mention a pair of red gold dragon and phoenix bracelets, you could find 10 or 8 pairs. My mother had dozens of them in her trousseau, and they were all used to support national construction." Lu Zhang thought for a while, "I'll go back and ask Qingxiu if she has any in her hand. If so, I'll find them for you. If I can really exchange this pair of bracelets for the safety of your father's palace, it's definitely worth the money. That person in charge, can you trust that the bracelet will not be discovered on the way and cause some trouble? It's all unclogged. You can trust it? Don't worry. The gold bracelet is just the icing on the cake." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1204. After listening to Qiao Desheng's words, Lu Zhang understood, which meant that he had taken care of it, and the person in charge was willing to take care of Zhou Suikui and Wang Suihai, but if the deputy person in charge was given the much-needed gold bracelet, then Zhou Suikui and Wang Suihai would be in a better situation. "Let's go, let me ask Qingxiu." Feng Qingxiu was chatting with Fang Ning. After listening to Lu Jiang's words, She thought for a moment and said, "There seems to be a couple buried at the bottom of the box. I'll look for it. It's the one my uncle gave me when I got married. Old thing, there's no it attracts people's attention, otherwise it would have been gone. I brought him here from his hometown during my vacation last year. Fortunately, Ajiang is of high rank and we are family members of the army, so we didn't have to undergo interrogation at the beginning. In fact, what Wang Zhenqiu gave was a gold bracelet, not a red gold dragon and phoenix bracelet, it was just a saying that came to mind at any time. The Lu family's gold and silver treasures are all in the space. Not only do they have red gold dragon and phoenix bracelets, but they are also numerous. Lu Jiang's mother alone had several boxes as a dowry. Lu's father said he would give them all because Lu's elder brother took half of them after they got married. Family property, but Lu Jiang had none. Not counting the things they got from scrapyards, black markets, and flea markets, she was already considered a rich woman. Why is this so embarrassing? Fang Ning glared at Qiao Desheng. Qiao Desheng looked at the sky and pretended not to notice. Fang Ning was so angry that his teeth itched. This man was so rude. A pair of gold bracelets, or old-fashioned dragon and phoenix bracelets, can they be lightweight? I took it to the bank and cashed it, it was several hundred yuan at least. Although she was bedridden, Feng Qingxiu was neatly dressed during the day. She was afraid that someone would come to visit and it would be inconvenient to enter the house, so she lifted the quilt, helped Lu Jiang's hands get off the bed, and opened the big box. After pretending to rummage for a moment, Feng Qingxiu found a pair of red gold dragon and phoenix bracelets from the space, wrapped them in red cloth in the box and took them out. Tianling finished washing her clothes and made lunch and went back, but Yang's mother didn't come today, so Feng Qingxiu dared to take it out. Now, see if it suits you. Feng Qingxiu handed it to Fang Ning. Fang Ning opened it and gasped. An exquisite pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets, made of red gold and silk, with the dragon and phoenix on them lifelike. It's suitable, it must be suitable, Qiao Desheng said. He picked up one of the bracelets and looked at it carefully. This is not only an old craft, but also made by a famous craftsman. My mother's dowry back then had a similar dragon and phoenix bracelet, just the craftsmanship is just similar, but the shapes of the dragon and phoenix are not exactly the same. This old craftsman never makes the same thing, and each one has its own appearance. When Fu Bao saw it, his eyes suddenly shone brightly, no less brilliant than the light emitted by the gold bracelet. He pulled Feng Qingxiu's sleeve and said, "Mom, Mom, it's so beautiful. I want it too." What do children want? This is for adults to wear. When Fu Bao grows up, mother will give it to you, Feng Qingxiu promised. There are 4 sons and 1 daughter in the family. Most of the jewelry they collect will be given to Fu Bao in the future. Of course, Fu Bao also has his own private house, which is valuable. Fu Bao reluctantly glanced at the bracelet in Fang Ning's hand, and stretched out his white and tender little hands to Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu bent down knowingly and listened to her. "Hang yourself with a hook, and it won't change for 100 years. No change, no change. When the daughter grows up, the jewelry can be unveiled, and both mother and daughter can wear it." Back home, Fang Ning kept complaining about Qiao Desheng. "Look at you, you are so rude to the army commander. You just took a pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets. These are not just a few dollars. There was a precedent for bribery, and a watch was given as a gift." The person who was transferred lived comfortably for 10 years until he was rehabilitated. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1205. The army commander and sister-in-law Qingxiu gave us this bracelet because they didn't treat us as outsiders. Why do you treat yourself as an outsider instead? Qiao Desheng touched his wife's forehead and said with a smile, "I owe the army chief's family today. Yes, we will pay it back in another way tomorrow, but we will keep our feelings in our hearts and will never forget them." Fang Ning glared at him, "Do you take it for granted?" Xiao Desheng had an idea, "We are related to their family. Isn't it normal for relatives to help relatives? Although the Zhou family and the Lu family are not directly related, as far as Guancheng Guanyu is concerned, the two families are relatives." Fang Ning had nothing to say to this shameless man. Probably it is true that birds of a feather flock together. Some of the soldiers who had a good relationship with Lu Zhang, such as Zhao Yang, Shang Kun, Wang Zijin, and others, had very similar temperaments. They were bold and generous and informal. Half a month had passed since Xiao Desheng came back, but Feng Qingxiu's discharge application had not yet been approved. She wondered if her application was not approved because she didn't show up. Therefore, the first thing she did after recovering from the illness was to go to Chen Lanqing in person to inquire about the progress of the application. "Comrade Qingxiu, have you really made up your mind?" Chen Lanqing asked. Feng Qingxiu pointed to her haggard face that had not recovered from the disease, and said with a wry smile, "You see that I am so sick, can you joke with the troops? Seeing a doctor and prescribing medicine is not a trivial matter, it is related to the life of every patient, and the wrong dose every penny can make a difference, and I don't dare to take the risks of working while sick." Chen Lanqing took a look and found that his complexion was indeed worse than when Zhuang was discharged from the hospital. He was also thinner. Even his eyes were full of fatigue. "Have you not recovered from your illness? Without 3 or 2 years, it will be difficult to return to the previous state." Feng Qingxiu knew her physical condition better than anyone else. She applied for discharge from the army, firstly to make it easier to take care of her children, and secondly for her own health. She cherished her life. She wanted to accompany Lu Zhang for a long time, move towards the next life together, and watch her children get married and start a family. For most people in this era, country is above family, and they are willing to dedicate everything to the country. Feng Qingxiu admires their selfless dedication, but will not imitate them. In Feng Qingxiu's heart, the most important thing is always herself and her family. She will not betray her country, but she will not give up her family for the country. As she told Lu Zhang, she does not have two noble sentiments. Seeing that she had made up her mind, Chen Lanqing pondered for a moment and said, "Since this is the case, then we will approve your application." When the topic changed, he said in a very slow tone, seriously and solemnly, "Comrade Feng Qingxiu, you just transferred from active duty to reserve duty. When the country needs you, I hope that you will be like all the soldiers who have retired. When you hear the order, return to your job immediately and serve the country." Feng Qingxiu saluted him with a military salute, "Comrade leaders, please rest assured." After receiving the instructions, Feng Qingxiu finally settled her worries and officially returned to her family. Many people felt sorry for Feng Qingxiu, but seeing the triplets growing up and laughing and moving, Feng Qingxiu didn't feel sorry at all. Tianling did the housework, and she just took care of Zibao, Fuebao, and after having triplets, taking care of their bodies, continuing to study calligraphy, painting, and medical skills, they lived a fulfilling and happy life. It was a rare leisure time in the past 8 years. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1206. The so-called leisurely life is all an illusion, especially when the triplets burst into tears one after another. Whether it is a Zibao or a Fuebao, there is a gap of 2 or 3 years between them. Feng Qingxiu only needs to take care of one newborn baby. Now there are 3. Except for Dun Dun, who is more honest, Xiang and Zhuang are both very worrying. Feng Qingxiu felt that she suddenly became so irritable. Xiang, who was lying on the kong, raised his head and screamed, drooling. Dun Dun was lying down obediently, with his 2 small fists under his chest, leaning against the Kong, to support himself. He seemed a little tired, so he turned over neatly, and the bear crawled over and pressed on him. Drool dripped all over his face. Dun Dun cried loudly, and Seong Seong cried too, as if he was the one who was wronged. Hearing the cries of his two brothers, Zhuang Zhuang followed suit without realizing it. Compared to his two brothers who can raise their heads and turn over, Zhuang Zhuang has a hard time lying on his stomach, let alone raising his head and turning over. Ah! Why are you crying again? Zibao expressed helplessness, put down his drawing brush, crawled over, and skillfully separated the two fat brothers. He turned around and heard that the little brother was still crying in his mother's arms. Fu Bao rested his elbows on the Kong table, rested his face on his little hands, and sighed. My brother is so annoying. He cries every day. I don't even have the mood to put on incense. I don't know who she learned this from. Feng Qingxiu unbuttoned her clothes to feed her youngest son, showing the same expression as her son. How could others see the joy of the birth of the triplets? How could they see the hard work the parents put in behind the scenes? When Tianling heard the crying, she quickly put down the clothes she was washing, washed her hands and came in. Is it time to drink milk powder? Looking at the wooden clock on the wall, Feng Qingxiu nodded and said, Sister Tian, please make milk powder for Dun Dun and Seong Seong. It doesn't matter if the clothes are washed later, the sun rises high at noon, and they can be dried quickly. Tianling opened the cupboard with familiarity, took out the milk bottle and milk powder, mixed cold boiled water with hot water, and quickly prepared the milk powder. Qingxiu, we are running out of milk powder. We only have enough for 2 or 3 days. After listening to Tianling's words, Feng Qingxiu immediately said, Sister Tian, please go to the service agency to buy a few bags of milk powder later. If there is a lot of milk powder, buy a few more bags and put them at home to avoid not being able to buy them sometimes. Unlike when Zibao was a child, Dun Dun and Seong Seong always drank domestically produced milk powder, with prices ranging from 2.8 yuan to 3.2 yuan. It's not that Feng Qingxiu was reluctant to give her son the milk powder in the space. Her food reserves were still sufficient. Because she was in poor health after the triplets were born, Tianling, Yang's mother and others helped take care of them, so the two children have been to drink Fihi milk powder. She would change the milk powder in the space for them at night. Dun Dun didn't care, he would drink whatever he was given. Seong Seong was very bearish. He would spit it out after taking 2 puffs if it didn't taste the same. Fortunately, the quality of milk powder in this era is very good. There is no melamine, so Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu have been giving them domestic milk powder, and occasionally changing the milk powder in the space for Dun Dun. At this point, Feng Qingxiu said again, you don't have enough money, I will give it to you again. Sometimes she would ask Tianling to go to the canteen to get food, and sometimes she would ask her to buy things, so the living expenses were given to Tianling in advance. Tianling smiled and said, that's enough. A bag of milk powder costs about 3 yuan. I still have dozens of them. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu were both generous. They were not pushy people. They trusted her very much. They would give her some scarce supplies if they had any. Naturally, she was willing to help the Lu family all the time. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1207. Tianling also had a little thought, just to enjoy the happiness of a group of children. After hearing the good news about Bai Shui's pregnancy, Tianling, who had been infertile for many years after her child died, suddenly felt hopeful. She originally wanted to ask Feng Qingxiu to take her pulse, check what the problem was, and see if she could get pregnant with a baby. At that time, Zhuang Zhuang was hospitalized, and then Feng Qingxiu fell ill again, so she didn't mention it. Whether it's a boy or a girl, she will be treated like a baby after birth. Of course she could find someone else. There were gynecologists in the army, such as Wang Sanbao and Guo Xiuying, who were both easy to talk to. But she was afraid that people would laugh at her if they found out. After all, she was already 40 years old. Now Zhuang's condition is getting better day by day, and Feng Qingxiu's spirit is gradually recovering. When he comes back, he will ask her to take his pulse. With this idea in mind, Tianling took the birth certificates of the triplets, walked briskly to the service center, and said cheerfully to the soldier selling things, "Comrade Lu, is there any milk powder today? There should be, right? This year there are quite a few newborns. Bring me 3, no, 4 bags of milk powder, 2 of which must be from Fihi. Dun Dun is very easy to take care of, mainly the little ancestor Xiong, who will not drink unless he is Fihi. Among the triplets, Dun Dun is always the most worry-free, and Zhuang is always the most worrying. Xiong, who is in the middle, is probably afraid that everyone will ignore him, so he becomes the most difficult baby to take care of." These were Feng Qingxiu's exact words. When she heard her mother speak, Xiong was lying on the Kong drooling. Xiao Lu didn't even glance at the birth certificate. He took out 4 bags of Fihi milk powder and said with a smile, "Only Fihi. I know that my sister-in-law bought it for Comrade Army Chief's family, so I don't need to bring a birth certificate in the future. That won't work. This is the rule. If you bring it with you, you can buy it first when there is a shortage of milk powder. The birth certificate is useful." Yes, sister-in-law is right. Xiao Lu nodded quickly, collected 13 yuan and gave the change. Just as he was about to say something, when he saw Lu Zayadai coming in, he suddenly changed his words and greeted, "Sister-in-law Jin, are you here to buy milk powder for lady?" If I remember correctly, Jin Hong and Lu Zayadai's third daughter, Jin Lady, was 5 or 6 days younger than the triplets and was about to drink milk. Jin Hong would come to buy milk powder when his salary was paid at the beginning of every month, so when Xiao Lu saw Lu Zayadai, he took it for granted that she also came to buy milk powder. Counting the days, he should have finished the 2 bags of milk powder he bought last month. And it must not be enough to drink. According to the rules, Jin Hong should have arrived at the beginning of the month, but Xiao Lu didn't see him. It was already mid-April. Although Xiao Lu doesn't know how much milk powder a child needs to drink every month, he can tell by looking at the frequency and quantity of milk powder Tianling comes to buy. Last month, he bought a total of 12 bags of milk powder. Today is the second time this month. It was 4 bags. Everyone knew that Zhuang didn't drink milk powder, so Tianling must have bought enough for 2 people. Lu Zayadai, who was furious when she saw Tianling, heard what Xiao Lu said and said angrily, "Do you see the way I buy milk powder? Who told me that I have no ability? All the people I give birth to are losers, and losers drink it. What milk powder? Give me a pound of soy sauce." She placed the soy sauce bottle on the counter with a loud clang. I'm sorry, sister-in-law Jin, it was my fault." Xiao Lu immediately admitted his mistake, quickly lifted up the soy sauce basket hanging on the edge of the soy sauce bucket, scooped a full basket of soy sauce and poured it into the soy sauce bottle brought by Lu Zayadai. 8 cents. Lu Zayadai picked up the soy sauce bottle, turned around and left. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1208. Xiao Lu hurriedly chased her out. Sister-in-law Jin, you haven't given me the money yet, 8 cents. I owe it now, and I'll pay it back in 2 days. Lu Zayadai didn't even look back, her feet were very fast, and she disappeared in an instant. Xiao Liu's face suddenly fell, and he returned to the counter listlessly. Sister-in-law, do you want to buy anything else? Sister-in-law, look it up for yourself, I'll keep the account first. Xiao Lu neatly wrote 8 cents behind the word Jin Hong on the account book, and marked the date with 2 words of soy sauce. After putting away the account book, he asked Tianling again. He bought milk powder and did not leave. He must have wanted to buy other things. Tianling asked, does Lu Zayadai often get credit? I clearly remember that state-owned stores do not allow credit. Buy with a ticket, buy with money, pay the money and the ticket, and the salesperson will get you something. If Xiao Lu didn't feel that he had angered Lu Zayadai and hurriedly gave her soy sauce to appease her anger, this process would have followed. Xiao Lu sighed, I'm used to sister-in-law Jin's behavior. This cannot be tolerated, Tianling said, unable to help but frown. Oh. Fortunately, Director Jin will deposit 10 yuan here every month. I have reported it to the superior. If sister-in-law Jin comes to buy things and doesn't pay, she will keep the account and deduct it from the 10 yuan. If she pays if you don't, the money will be returned to Director Jin. Xiao Lu shrugged, Director Jin is reasonable, why is sister-in-law Jin so different? Is Jin Hong reasonable? This is probably the funniest thing Tianling has ever heard. If the troops hadn't come forward, the Jin Zayadai sisters might not have survived. Thinking of Jin Zayadai, Tianling felt a little pity. It's just that the newcomers don't know what Jin Hong and Lu Zayadai have done before, and Jin Hong has paid more and more attention to his image in the past 2 years, which makes Lu Zayadai even more disgusting. However, this kind of thing cannot be said to Xiao Lu. Tianling abruptly changed the subject and said, weigh a pound of preserved fruit for me. She bought this pound of preserved fruit with her own money and brought it to Zibao and Fuebao to eat. The longer they get along, the more Tianling likes Zibao and Fuebao. She has never seen smarter and cuter children than them. Their words are always so unexpected, making people smile in their hearts. Carrying the things back, Tianling didn't dare to waste time. The clothes hadn't been washed yet, and the triplets should have changed their diapers again. After walking for a few minutes, she suddenly saw Lu Zayadai pushing Bai Shui. The person walking with Bai Shui didn't react. Seeing that Bai Shui was about to fall down, Tianling raised her legs and ran up like a fly. He grabbed Bai Shui, who almost fell, and yelled at Lu Zayadai, Lu Zayadai, what are you doing? Bai Shui is pregnant, and everyone in the family compound knows it. She was pushed by Lu Zayadai like this. What should she do if she has some shortcomings? Why do you, a hen that doesn't lay eggs, mind your own business? Where did you come from? Lu Zayadai not only showed no intention of repenting, but turned around and scolded Tianling with a fierce look on her face. Tianling was so angry that she was shaking all over. You, a dog can't spit out ivory from its mouth. She is honest by nature and won't scold others, but Bai Shui is different. She used to worry about her image in the art troupe, and has always been gentle and gentle. During the time she lived in the Su family, she suffered a lot and had a big quarrel. After that, she seemed to be a different person. While protecting her belly, she cursed, Lu Zayadai, from what you said and what you did, I know that God is wise. You deserve to be unable to give birth to a son. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1209. Lu Zayadai used Tianling's pain points to hit Tianling, and she stepped on Lu Zayadai's painful feet. Lu Zayadai was so angry that she jumped on her feet and her eyes were red. Bai Shui, you bitch, how dare you say that I can't give birth to a son? You knew I was pregnant but you pushed me and almost pushed me down. Why can't I tell you? When Bai Shui said this, she also knew how to hide behind Tianling and another family member of the army, but she was not willing to forgive at all. Huihong and I were talking, and you pushed me when you came up. Are you still reasonable? I will go to the army immediately to sue you for malicious injury. She is also innocent, okay. While they were talking, Lu Zayadai came up to her and pushed her, almost causing an accident to her. Bai Shui touched her belly with lingering fear. Although she was pregnant as she wished, For some reason, Feng Qingxiu and Guo Xiuying and Wang Sanbao both said that the fetus was not stable and asked her to take good care of the fetus, so she was usually very cautious. Lu Zayadai said angrily, "Who told you to say that I can't give birth to a son? Who told you to say that I can only give birth to daughters? Are you sick? Who is free enough to care whether you have a son or a daughter?" Bai Shui, who was confused, did not want to bear this crime. Seeing more and more people coming to watch, she suddenly reacted, "I told Kuihong that it would be great to have a daughter. Do you think I am talking about you? Where do you get the respect?" The topic started when Zhu Kuihong asked her whether she was pregnant with a boy or a girl. She said that she would not know until she was born. Su Junlin had children, many of whom were married and started businesses. She had no requirement for this. She thought it would be good to have a daughter, which would save a lot of trouble. Although Bai Shui is not smart enough, she has been in the circle of senior officials' disciples since she was a child and is well versed in the rules. Su Junchu has many wives and concubines, and is full of children and grandchildren. Su Junlin has sons and daughters. The youngest twins are more than 10 years old. Even if there are any good resources, his children will not be able to turn to them. When the children grow up, there will probably not be many available resources. It would be better to have a daughter, dress up beautifully since she was a child, and marry into a good family based on her status as a Su family. Therefore, Kuihong asked her whether she wanted a son or a daughter, and she replied that she wanted a daughter as delicate, cute, smart, and exquisite as Fuebao. Among all the children in the family compound, the boy, Bai Shui, likes Zibao the most, and the girl, of course, is Fuebao. Fubao loves beauty, which just suits Bai Shui's thoughts. She asked her aunt to buy some hairpins in the capital, and planned to give half of them to Fubao to amuse her. On the way, she met Zhu Kuihong and chatted for a few words, but she didn't know that Lu Zayadai would go crazy when she came up. Zhu Kuihong was also pregnant, and her fetus was unstable. She and Bai Shui took the miscarriage pills together, so she talked to Bai Shui about her son and daughter. When Bai Shui was pushed, she didn't have time to react, and she only protected herself. Her stomach was full, and now when she heard Bai Shui say this, she nodded hurriedly and then nodded. "Yeah, we didn't mention you at all. Is it because you don't have good heirs? When anyone talks about having a daughter, they think they are talking about you. When you come up, you push people and scold Sister Tian. Why are you so bad, Zhu Kuihong? I was almost scared to death, my legs are a little weak now." The onlookers suddenly realized this and looked at Lu Zayadai with accusing eyes. Who is Lu Zayadai? That was the shameless person who ran away when he saw that he was outnumbered. Bai Shui was pregnant and couldn't chase her. Tianling was thinking about the unfinished clothes and diapers, and spat at Xingzi angrily. Why didn't such a person strike him with lightning? He cursed Zhuang before, so he deserved to be killed. By Xiaoun beat him up. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1210. Bai Shui became even more angry. When she came to Feng Qingxiu, she didn't forget to scold Lu Zayadai. "Let's see how I deal with her in the future." Bai Shui bit the preserved fruit in her mouth bitterly as she spoke. Tianling also let her eat it, but she didn't take it, so she asked Fu Bao for it. Fu Bao generously gave half of it to her. "Thank you, Mrs. Tian." Bai Shui nodded desperately. "Yeah, let's thank Mrs. Tian." "You," Fu Bao pointed at her, "baby said thank you, but you didn't say thank you to Mrs. Tian." Bai Shui instantly understood the meaning of Fu Bao's previous words, turned around and said loudly to the door, "Sister Tian, thank you for buying the preserved fruit. It's delicious. Fu Bao and I both like it." "I heard you, you're welcome." Tianling shook her head while washing clothes. The smile on her face diluted the shadow caused by Lu Zayadai's words. Bai Shui finished eating the preserved fruit, took out a few hairpins, held them in the palm of her hand and sent them to Fu Bao. Fu Bao, what do you think this is? Do you like it? I'll give it all to you. Fu Bao's eyes were bright. The hairpin looks great, it wasn't black. Feng Qingxiu looked at it and found that the hairpin was very delicate. She couldn't help but widen her eyes. Where did it come from? I asked my aunt to ask someone to buy them. They should be imported goods. The price was certainly not cheap. Bai Shui let Fu Bao pick two and pin them on her head. The beauty made the little girl shake her head. Fu Bao is a child. You can wear it at home. I am an adult. I have no choice. Anyone who wears beautiful hairpins other than black hairpins is enjoying the decadent life of capitalism. Wang Suihai learned from the past. Bai Shui didn't dare to take risks. He had to pay more attention to the influence in the army. Didn't you see that Feng Qingxiu always tried to keep a low profile? Apart from military uniforms, she was rarely seen wearing new clothes. By the way, Qingxiu, are you really retired? She didn't even see her saying goodbye to her comrades. Looking into Zhuang's beady eyes in her arms, Feng Qingxiu tapped his nose and said with a smile, how can I still have a vacation? Although I have been transferred to reserve force, I am still in the army. She could see through Bai Shui's thoughts at a glance, and after listening to her words, Bai Shui smiled. That's fine. You can take good care of your children at home. You have 5 children at home. It's not enough to just follow you to work. You are very attentive, but you are reluctant to send them to daycare. After talking about this for a long time, Bai Shui asked Feng Qingxiu to feel her pulse again, and left with a prescription that was similar to Guo Xiuying's. Tianling rubbed her sweaty hands on her clothes and hesitated to speak. Sister Tian, if you have anything to say, just say it. There are no outsiders in our family. Feng Qingxiu was very concerned about Tianling. Did the family encounter any difficulties? Or are there problems in life that are difficult to solve? Tianling hesitated and said, can you show it to me? What are you looking at? Feng Qingxiu didn't react for a moment. Check me out and see if I can take care of myself and see if I have a chance to have another child. The most difficult words came out of her mouth, and Tianling spoke the next words fluently. My child has been dead for many years. To be honest, every time I think of him, my heart feels like it's being cut by a knife. Talking about the sadness, Tianling wiped her tears. Although Lao Zhou didn't care and said that I have several nephews at home, I want a child in my heart, even in my dreams. No matter how good my nephews are, they are not me. My biological child, what can I expect? I just want to ask you to check with me to see if I have the possibility of having a child. If so, help me prescribe a prescription. Whether it is a boy or a girl, at least we are here. It's not empty.